And tonight, again, as we're coming in and we're getting started, I want you to share this live. I want to know where you're from. And we are talking about tonight that you can't force people to value you. You can't force somebody to see your value. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how tall you are. I don't care how talented you are. You can't force people to see your value. And the first thing we're talking about tonight is why it hurt. Why does that hurt when somebody don't see your value? They don't appreciate your value. See, I want to tell you what we're wired for. We are wired for recognition. That's the way we're wired. That's the way you are. You are wired to be recognized, to be happy that somebody is paying attention to your value. See, a lot of people think you just wired for attention. You wired for recognition. You want people to see your effort. You want people to see your sacrifice. You want people to see your heart. But when someone don't see your value, your brain, it just don't register as there's a difference. When people don't see your value, it registers as I must be invisible. They must can't see me. I said that first. When I said it, they didn't see it. I must be invisible. And that invisible feeling, it hurts. It don't feel good. I'm telling you what we're talking about tonight as you're coming in. We are talking about that you can't force people to see your value. And there's many of us, we fail at life. We fail at so many things in our life because we try our hardest to get people to see value. So we're going to deal with this thing. We're going to talk about this thing. We're going to talk about why it hurts so bad. It's like when somebody overlook you, it feels like it really hurts. Like there's a real damage that just happened. It's like the brain is processing it like it's a real rejection. And sometimes your brain, it literally will make it feel like it's a physical pain. And another reason it hurts. It hurts because it triggers rejection. It triggers rejection. See, when somebody fails to see your value, your mind be like, what did I do wrong? Your mind be like, why wasn't I enough? You be like, what do they see in someone else that they don't see in me? And see, that begins to start really triggering comparison. Now you are a person that is literally, you're comparing yourself to other people now. And then comparison, it triggers insecurities. And then now here comes shame. Something must be wrong with me. That's not aligned. Because it's literally wounding your ego. We got to be honest. I want you to be honest with me right now. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever said to yourself, something must be wrong with me because they didn't see the value that was in you? I want you to be honest. Have you ever said that? I know I can't be the only one. And part of that pain that you feel is literally pride. Part of that pain that you feel is pride because you think like, I know what I bring to the table. I know what I offer. I know how rare I am. So when people don't recognize that, it bruises your ego. I want to tell you something, that your ego don't want love. Your ego don't want love. Your ego wants validation. It wants to feel chosen. It wants to feel special. Your ego don't like losing. Because when you feel like you're losing, it starts to create this powerless feeling. Hey, you can work harder. You could be better. You can communicate clearer. You can show more love, but you can't control somebody's perception. And I want to tell you that powerless feeling that you feel is like, it can become so stressful in your mind. And then you will start to ask yourself, like, no matter what I do, they don't see it. How many people have been there before? You say to yourself, no matter what I do, they don't see it. Then it's like, man, I'm helpless. It's like, there's really no use for me. And again, as you're coming in, there's people that are coming in and out. We are talking about tonight that you can't force nobody to see your value. You can't do it. You are a valuable person. You have greatness in you. And that's why you are part of tonight's therapy session, where we're having a casual conversation. And I want you to be able to speak freely. I want you to be able to comment, because people literally read your comments. And one comment could probably change somebody's life. They might be saying, man, I can't believe somebody else is feeling the same way as me. I've been out here trying to prove myself to people. And it hurts, because now I know that I'm understanding that this feeling that I feel that's heavy, it just means that I'm helpless. Then it breaks into a little illusion now. Because most people believe if I'm good, I'll be valued. Most people believe that if I'm loyal, I'll be appreciated. Most people believe that if I show up, I'll be chosen. But when that formula that you put together in your mind, it fails, it shakes you. It really do. It shakes you. It starts to mess with you, because you realize that effort does not guarantee recognition. And that feels unfair. And that unfairness feeling that you feel, it triggers anger and grief at the same time. Then it started reopening old wounds. Especially if you've ever felt overlooked. Have you ever felt overlooked? Have you ever felt compared? Have you ever felt not chosen first? Have you ever felt not prioritized? Then this moment I'm talking about is, you should know what I'm talking about. Because that is part of the hurt. That is part of the things that you go through. And every time that you go unseen and they treat you some type of way, it triggers that feeling. It's just that reaction. It just seems like it's bigger than the situation. I'm talking about not being valued, and you know that you are a powerful person. And one of the reasons that it hurt is that it's hard to accept it. It's hard to accept it. You can explain yourself. You can defend your character. You could show receipts, but you cannot argue somebody to appreciate you. And then when you really accept to yourself and you be like, man, I really know what's going on. I really get it now. And you begin to surrender, and then, you accepting this. Surrendering is really just your reality. But that surrender that you feel and that you know in your heart, guess what that does? It feels like a loss. It feels like a loss before it feels like peace. See, this is deep. This is something that we ought to discuss. This is something that is very special because we have so many people who spend so many years trying to get somebody to see their value. And I believe that if you can understand the psychology behind it, if you can understand the hardship behind it, if you can understand the meaning of what you feel, you can get to a place of happiness. I really do believe that the more wisdom you have and the more understanding that you get, I really do believe, according to scripture, you're going to be a happy person. Because now you know why. Now you know what you feel. When someone don't see the value, right? It would always make you question your value. Even when you logically know better. Because we measure our worth, we measure it through reflection. We look at how other people respond to us, and then we gauge that and we compare it to who we are. So when someone fails to reflect or give us appreciation, it really distorts our own understanding about how we feel about ourselves. But it do it temporarily. See, it hurts because you thought that if you love harder, you thought that if you showed up stronger, you thought that if you stayed longer, they'll finally see you. But the truth is, people only see what they are capable of recognizing. I really hope that this is getting through you, because I want to tell you about where people mess up, where we mess up. I want to tell you where you actually begin to start messing up. And again, those that are just coming on, I want you to share this live because we're talking about something very powerful tonight. We are talking about that you can't force people to see your value. You can't do it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you believe. I don't care how you feel. But I'm telling you, as a friend, as a brother, as your coach, you cannot force people to see your value. People mess up when they start performing harder. People mess up when they start proving more. People mess up when they start shrinking themselves. Have you ever shrunk yourself to try to please somebody? See, you don't become more valuable by overextending yourself. Overextension don't increase your worth. It exposes your insecurities. And that's where people sabotage themselves. Because when people don't see your value, it makes you go into this to this proving point. It makes you try to do things that's out of the ordinary. Because everybody else, they respond to you with compensation. They respond to you with appreciation. This thing is real, man. This thing is something that you have to know, because I spent years trying to get people to see my value when I didn't even have to. And a lot of us, we waste time in situations. We waste times in business deals. I want to talk about how you try to prove yourself harder. I want to talk about what that actually does when you do that. And that rejection, it literally activates the pursuit. And then your brain start to think that if I can increase effort, I can change the outcome. So people, they start explaining, overly explaining. They start to overly give. This is crazy, but it's true. It's crazy, but it's true. This is what we go through. You start to over communicate. You start to overly sacrifice. Then you start to think that visibility, maybe they need to see you more. But then you realize that your value don't increase that way. Just because you're performing harder, just because you're showing yourself. No. I want to say the more that you choose recognition, the more your worth feels negotiable. I don't think that you should be trying to negotiate your worth with anybody. I don't think that is a smart thing to really be trying to negotiate your worth. Like, why are you doing that? Sometimes I had to ask myself, why is I'm trying to negotiate how much I'm worth and what I actually bring to the table? But this is what happens when you mentally, when you fall into this, when you try to get people to see your worth. Like this is what happens. It's not a good feeling. And then the crazy thing about it is you ask yourself, why do you say what's wrong with me? How many people have ever said that? What's wrong with me? You know you valuable. You know you powerful. You know you got a lot of things going on in your life. How many people have said that? You know what you bring to the table. You know your structure. You know your gifts. Right? But this is what we do. This is what we do. We tie we tie our self-worth, we tie it to somebody else's perception of us. And then instead of saying, they don't have the capacity, we be like, what's wrong with me? Some people don't have the capacity. They don't see it. I want to say this, that your value do not depend on somebody else's approval. Your value, it does not depend on somebody else's approval. Because if it does, guess what it does? It begins to create what you call insecurity loops. And nobody likes to feel like this. Nobody likes that, because you begin to internalize rejection instead of seeing the mismatch. See, they see deficiency in a lot of cases. we see deficiency. We be like, I wasn't enough. I'm too much. I should have been different. And before you know it, your brain, it starts to want to control. So it chooses self-blame. Because you be like, it must be my fault so I can fix it. But sometimes I want to tell you right now, there's nothing you can fix. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. And when you start feeling like you got to fix something, guess what you start doing next? You really get into this competition mode. And you be like, I wonder who they like more. I want to know who they pick. I want to know who they followed. I want to know who they respond to, who they respect more than me. And then now what this is going to cause, this cause you to shame, is going to cause you to go into a little anger every now and then. It's going to cause you to start obsessing. You can't heal like that, because now you're measuring yourself because somebody didn't value you. Somebody didn't value you. And again, as you're coming on, this is a very sensitive subject that we're talking about tonight. We are talking about that you can't force anybody. You can't force them to value you. You have greatness in you. You are a special person. I don't care about your past. I don't care what you've been through. I don't care about the mistakes you made. Do you know one thing that God can do? One thing that he does great is he know how to rebirth something. He's the only person in the world that can take something that's not even living and give it life. So when I think about the value that God could give us at any time, I think about you. I think about me. I think about the things that I can still obtain as long as I'm still here. So yeah, that's what we're talking about tonight. And then another thing that, when you're trying to force somebody to, you're trying to force them to literally see your value, you try to control the whole narrative. You try to act like sometimes like you're unbothered. You try to pretend like you don't care. But in reality, you be caring. You be caring. And the reason you do is because that's a form of protection. You're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to protect your ego. And again, you can't heal in situations like this. You cannot heal in things that you're trying to still win. And that's the reality. That's the reality. That's the hard truth. You cannot win. You cannot heal in something that you're trying to win. You got to understand that when people don't see your value, the wrong response by you is to increase effort. Quit trying. That's the wrong response. I would tell anybody that the right response is to increase alignment. But that ego, we have to resist our ego. We have to resist it. We got to be like, hey, it's okay. Walking away, it feels like losing. That's fine. But the moment you start trying to convince someone of your value, you've already stepped out of it. And I want to tell you a real truth. And I want you to really understand this. I want to tell you a real truth that you have to know and that I had to learn, and I had to figure this out. I had to figure this out. Some people don't see your value because they are not built to carry it. They're not built to carry it. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. People that don't see your value, they're not built to carry it. You can't keep explaining yourself into being appreciated. You can't keep doing that. You can't convince someone to honor what they don't recognize. I want to say this, that recognition is not a negotiation. It's a reflection of the capacity. See, capacity determines recognition. See, people can only recognize what they have the capacity to understand. And I want to say this very clearly because many of you're going to get it when I say this, right? You're going to get it. If somebody lacks like depth, if they lack emotional maturity or self-awareness, even stability, I'm talking about if people lack these things, they may not understand what they're looking at. It's not always blindness. Sometimes people just have certain limitations. And sometimes your value exposes them. I just want to tell you the truth. See, you might have just gotten out of a relationship that you didn't like and that went wrong, and you're trying to figure out what happened. You're trying to figure out, I wasn't valued enough. I didn't have enough value for this person. I wasn't good enough for this person. You're trying to figure this out. Your brain is in a frenzy and you're trying to understand your emotions and why you feel this way and why you're hurting. And so I think that this is a really good therapy session for you to really think about and take notes. Your value sometimes exposes people. They're not on your level. That some of them, they can't see, they can't understand who you are. They can't see the greatness in you. See, if you're loyal, if you're disciplined, if you're consistent, if you're emotionally aware, literally, and they are not, your presence become a mirror. And mirrors are uncontrollable. So instead of rising, they minimize. Man, you can't force people. You can't force people. I'm sorry. You just can't do it. Your value to them is they can't see it. They don't understand it. I want you to tell me in the comments, when did you realize that your value was not seen? How long were you in that relationship? I want to know, how long were you in that relationship when you was like, man, I really don't think they see my value. I really don't think they see me. I really don't think they see what I could do for them. How long? Some people said 14 years. Oh my goodness. 3 years, 8 months, 10 years, 3 years. You know, this is a very touchy subject because there's a lot of women right now. You thought that you wasn't enough. You keep telling yourself, I wasn't enough for him, when that is not the truth. He just couldn't see your value. He couldn't see the greatness that God had put in you. He couldn't see it. And it don't feel good. I know it don't feel good. I know it don't feel good. It don't feel good to nobody. Somebody says he started getting jealous of me. And then if it isn't uncomfortable, then you're not growing. Somebody says he used me to get where he needed to be and then ghosted me. Wow. You know, I'm just telling you right now that if you don't learn anything else tonight, that I want to give you some tips too that you can do. But I really want you to know in your mind and in your heart, right, that God don't want you trying to prove your value to nobody. He's going to bring you somebody that sees your value. He's going to bring you somebody that respects your value. There's nothing worse. There's almost nothing worse in this world, to really, when you are linked up with somebody and they're supposed to be your team, they're supposed to be your life partner, somebody to help you, go to a new level, and they don't see your value. It's something that hurts so bad. And it's okay. We're human. It's okay. We have issues. We have disagreements. But I don't want you to spend these years trying to force somebody to see your value. Let me tell you one of the biggest things you can do. Right? One of the biggest things you can do is walk away. Now, I heard a speaker tell me one time, if you wanted to know your value, you should do a progress report. Walk away. And if that person don't miss you, if that person didn't need you, if you wasn't there doing anything for that person, if you was not needed and that person don't have any hardship without you, then maybe you wasn't any value. But when you look at all of the things you've done and all of the things you do, when you look at who you are, when you look at what you actually bring, see, a lot of people, you might just think that, oh, I bring money to the table. Just because you bring money to the table don't always make you a valuable, men say this all the time. I'm valuable because, I bring money to the table. Bro, money without discipline that's not value. There's a lot of rich people or well-off people who are not worth anything. They just landed a good job. They don't have a prayer life. They don't have a vision for their family. They don't teach. They don't train. They don't do nothing. They don't even protect for real. They don't know where to go. No, I'm talking about real value. You start asking yourself, what is a real value? What do you bring to the table? Have you ever just wrote that down? Have you ever just wrote it down? What do I bring to the table? When you think about that, right? Have you ever just wrote that down? What is my real gifts? I've been in so many arguments, literally, or so many debates or conversations about value. I have. Because when you know that you have value, you take it real personal when people treat you like you don't. When you know that you have vision, you have drive, right? When you know that you have goals and you have plans and you have things that works and that help you create and that help you be a better person. And people don't realize that, and people don't see that. See, it starts a real agitation. But I've had real arguments about this. I've had arguments with, people who don't have worth, And I have to really show them like what kind of value do you have? I ask people all the time, I say, what do you bring to the table? Don't mean that you can't start bringing things to the table. And every time people say table, they always say, oh, you must just be talking about money. No. Well, you must just be talking about cooking and cleaning. And no. What else do you bring to the table? And I'm going to tell men right now that's listening to me, the most powerful thing you can bring to the table is true masculinity. The first thing that God gave us was to work. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you a man that played a game all day, you have no vision, you barely want to work, or you don't work, I just gonna be honest with y'all. I can't lie. I gotta tell the truth. The value you claim you got, you ain't got. You spend most of the time on a video game. You spend most of the time with your homeboys. You spend most of the time not being that ain't a lot of value, big dog. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I just want to be honest, Maybe that's what we need to talk about tonight. Maybe that's what we need to talk about tonight. I think maybe that's what we need to talk about tonight. Since we're talking about you can't force people to see your value, maybe we should be really talking about what is real value. So ladies, what I want you to do tonight, from a woman's point of view, I want you to comment what is real value. I want you to comment what is real value. I'm serious. And as a man, no, and let me be very clear real quick. I want you to comment what is real value from a woman's standpoint. And men, I want you to comment what is real value from a man's point of view. Because I really think that a lot of men, we got to be taught on what true value is. We have to literally be, coached in, because a lot of us, we didn't grow up with leadership. We don't know how valuable leadership is. When I ask you right now, if I ask your other person and I say, look, how are they in their leadership? When something happens, can you depend on them? Are they a protector? They not play about you? Something happened, is they coming? You catch a flat tire, can I depend on you to come get me off the road? Can I depend on you to have car insurance that I can call where they can come get me off the road? What can I depend on you? So what's so crazy to me is that a lot of men, you get offended when your value really ain't what you think it is. It don't matter. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how big you are in the gym and you lifting these weights and you look powerful. You look great. You got the six pack. That don't make you valuable. See, you thinking on a carnal level. You thinking on a level that really, don't you know that the body profit little? I'm serious. I'm so serious right now. And we're talking about a value in a relationship right now, right? If we're going there and women are, they're commenting, right? Men are commenting right now. And guys, I really do appreciate the likes. I would love, if you are enjoying this today, please give me some likes. I'm live on TikTok and I'm also live on Facebook. So give me some likes and also continue to share this. This is something that we do every Monday through Friday. I try to go live, by 9. Sometimes I try to start a little bit before, but between 9 and 10, I'm going to always be live for a while. Having these sessions, having these conversations, because I really have a heart to really help people to reset. And I appreciate everybody who's been buying my book, 21 Days to Reset, right? It's on my website, markleejr.com. It's a very powerful book to help you reset, help you to rewire your mind, get some of that stuff that you thought that was right, that was really wrong, help you to rebuild your life and reclaim your peace. And sometimes you got to reset. You got to walk away from people who think they got value that don't have value. I'm telling you the truth.